What's up? Welcome to Tales Tomorrow. I'm Morrow, and this is Mary come back for a second time in a row to do some RPG horror story videos. Also, I just want to give my personal apology for not releasing as many videos as lately. The cat has been busy. If you don't know what that means, check out the video where I talk about where I lose my channel and I get it back. There's a lot more detail onto that. Also, if you're wondering, Mary, in a sense, does have an alter ego as well.
No, that's removing panties. I don't want to do that.
I'm gonna put that in. I'm gonna keep that.
Hi.
That's it.
I am the White Wolf Meg. How you doing? Nice to meet you.
So I guess the cat's out of the bag and the wolf now is out of the bag. But either way, do you mind switching back?
You better do like a cool like outro. It's like poof, and I'm just like back to Mario or something.
I won't do that. I'll
Be
just
very
leave this specific part in here.
Feels so different.
Anyway, now that we're back to full speed, let's get some RPG horror stories for today. Strange player wants to do sex scenes. Am I allowed to say sex, or should I be saying ecchi, like hentai? Ecchi, like from anime. Should I be more weeb? Say ecchi? Don't wanna fuck. Anyway.
Don't wanna fuck. I can't do fingers.
Just like in real life.
I am good with my fingers.
Anyway, I recently started using Reddit more and found this sub, so I thought I'd share my cursed experience. I was the DM for my group of friends. We discovered a shared love for RPGs and decided to play a campaign during our break. I volunteered to DM first, and since some players were traveling, we played on Discord. I like doing session zeros with each player to introduce the characters to the world and NPCs. Everything went well, until I got to the one guy in the group. His character had a wife in the story, which was fine at first, but then he started describing things like kissing her, running his hands up her thigh, and implying he wanted me to narrate a sex scene. I shut it down immediately and moved on, but it left me thinking, what the hell? Later, another DM took over and the same guy did something similar, making the DM uncomfortable but unable to say no. When it was, whoa, DMs are more than able to say no. DMs should definitely say no. That's something you should always try to practice, especially in situations where you're just not comfortable with or you not feel like running, like a sex scene. I am not gonna run a sex scene for my players, no matter who it is, not even Mary. Sorry, Mary, you're not getting a sex scene in our campaign. But I'm not running that because I'm not comfortable running that. I don't want to roleplay. What am I supposed to do? What do you want me to do? You want me to also roleplay the modes as well? Oh yeah, Mary,
yes,
yeah, harder, Mary. That's gotta get clipped. And she ran away. But see, I'm not doing that because that's uncomfortable for me. Waiting for Mary to come back. Hold on a second.
I didn't know the door was a thing. I forgot the door was a thing. I was like, where am I?
She ran to a door not knowing the door was a door. Miracles.
It took me outside.
Anyway, let's continue. DMs are allowed to. You'll be okay. DMs are allowed to say no, especially if they're doing something uncomfortable. When it was his turn to DM, things got even weirder. My boyfriend's character visited another PC's house where the guy introduced an NPC, a stereotypical anime-style girl with big boobs, stuttering and being overly sexual towards the other PC. My boyfriend felt so uncomfortable he had his character leave, but the guy narrated the NPC and PC heading to the bedroom after he left the call. Huh? Somebody leaves, you don't just hijack the character saying, well, anyway, that player character, my NPC, went to have a shaboing boing up in the bedroom. You don't do that. Not okay. Not okay at all. If your DM is doing this, definitely call them out on this and hold them accountable because this is weird to do. After a few more incidents, we stopped talking to him. Apparently, he's still friends with one of our group members, and who knows what kind of roleplay they're doing now. On top of everything, he was a creep in general, constantly making sex jokes and associating with shady people. A fun little addition. I'm a woman, and this guy was horribly unattractive and clearly wanted to hit on me. In this campaign, which unfortunately lasted until about halfway, made the entire story revolve around my character. My character had a best friend I wrote into her backstory as a missing agent she was determined to find. He wrote his entire campaign just to make this NPC the leader of an organization the story was centered around, and finding him became the party's main mission. Mind you, the leader of the organization had already been established as someone else before. To top it all off, the main villain of the campaign was also tied to my NPC's story. It was absolutely awful. Some DMs like to, I guess the best way to call it, some DMs like to use D&D and moments in a campaign to try to basically get their flirt on, get their riz on. And clearly this is L riz. It's not going to work at all. And honestly, no thank you. No thank you. You could stay away with that from me. But the player has kind of a gooner brain at this point. They're focusing on making the story about sex, sexy NPCs, and using the campaign in order to try to flirt with the player rather than playing and create a campaign that everybody can enjoy. And whenever you have a player that's doing these kind of things, I feel like that only dilutes the campaign to being one-track mind and being more of like a device or tool for someone's riz game rather than playing an actual campaign that everybody can enjoy together. I feel like the whole point of the campaign should be about having everybody enjoy it. You can have moments where you can interact with certain NPCs to keep the story going along or include other characters into the story, but if it becomes the entire driving point just simply to try to use this as a way to flirt with one of your players or try to have some sort of forced sex scenes appear on purpose and try to really just ham-fist them in there. I don't know what you're ham-fisting into, but whatever you're doing, please make sure to use protection. It's just not okay. It's just not okay to do. You don't use D&D sessions and D&D games or really any TTRPG games to like advance your riz, because that's L riz basically.
You're loving the riz word today, aren't you?
I don't know, it seems like the most apt word to use. I don't know, flirt game. Don't use D&D sessions for your flirt game or try to flirt with somebody. Don't run a session specifically just to try to get someone's attention. Don't do that. 99% of the time, 99.99% of the time, except the 0.01% that's a rarity, it will not work. Anyway, let's get to the next story for today. That guy teaches me to be more mindful about new players. I chose the essay warning tag because of implied intention of taking advantage of a female NPC who wouldn't be able to easily resist a male character pressuring her with sexual intent. While the desire for it was stated out of character, still feels worth making the warning for it. We have a lot of sex-obsessed stories today, huh?
I mean, you're the one who chose these stories.
I listen, it just was there and I just paired them up. I didn't know they're going to be all about sex. I literally had no idea. This one particular apparently going to have essay as well. So if that's overkill, please let me know. Forgive me if this is too long. I'm a very verbose person. I can't write short-term content to save my life. I've also never written a post like this before, so suggestions and tips would be appreciated. But the TLDR crowd invited a mutual associate, thereafter to be known as that guy, whom I thought though would be a good player, proved to be an uncomfortable, frustrating, and inconsistent player I finally ended up dropping from my campaign and probably from my system forever. That guy wanted to take advantage of an NPC who had a trait that would make it difficult for her to resist his advances, even when it was made abundantly clear she viewed it as a defining character flaw. He refused to collaborate through character creation in the campaign until everyone else politely told him that's not how the whole system works and caused other problems, which his regular response to those things was to threaten quitting the campaign rather than trying to compromise, eventually booting him from campaign after putting up with him for honestly way too long. Not just the TLDR, there's a whole story here to uncover and unpack because that's a lot to cover for a TLDR, right? TLDR is supposed to be like a nice little way to put it all together, but that feels like it's like a can of worms. It's just letting to burst down and let loose. But either way, let's get to this story. Are you gonna be okay?
Yes.
Okay, let's get to the story. To get to the point, I'm a forever DM. I have my own homebrew RPG system. One of the aspects of the character creation is a collection of role-playing traits that run the gambit for innocuous to life-defining, especially if you randomly roll something you weren't expecting, doubly so if you get a very high severity. Each campaign tests various things and now fun enough that I have a bunch of regulars who return time and time again for more, so I feel it's a relative success. We have sessions over Discord, so no in-person sessions, mostly because we live in different time zones. That guy seems fine as far as personality traits go. Pretty upbeat, fairly friendly, and from my experience, pretty alright. They passed a test campaign to see how they'll react with the rest of the players and to determine how they'll work with a simpler version of my system. Passed with flying colors. My regulars were really excited to have someone else to join them at the table. New blood is always a risk, but they gave the impression that they'd be fun addition to the usual crew. Sometimes when you have people joining for the game and you find out they're in fact kind of bad to have at the table, it just goes to show that you can have people that are wonderful outside of TTRPGs, but as soon as you put them into TTRPG, they change. Suddenly those toxic traits come out. Maybe they're too competitive, maybe they're too into the situation, maybe they can't handle low rolls and becomes like a big dramatic problem. And it really sucks when that situation happens, because outside of it, maybe they're lovely, they're amazing to like watch movies, talk to, just hang out with, but suddenly in TTRPGs, those toxic traits come out and it becomes a big problem.
Like me, for real, for real.
No, actually Mary is wonderful. She's amazing.
Oh, you're so sweet to me, Mommy.
Fast forward to just character creation, and he's already starting to show warning signs. He just struggled to collaborate, an ongoing theme. There aren't classes in my system, so you're building characters in more free form. I make suggestions to help him have a more accessible experience, and that guy just kept ignoring that advice. I admit I'm pretty lenient as a DM, and I wanted everyone to have fun, so while I made suggestions, I didn't apply a lot of pressure. I admit that it's a failing on my part. I also didn't know how much pressure to apply. I didn't want to discourage that guy from participating altogether. If you have a homebrew RPG system that maybe is a bit difficult to wrap their head around, maybe that could be the problem with the character creation. That, or maybe it's so simple, but indeed is the problem player that's the issue. I don't know. When it comes to making your own RPG system, I feel like one of the biggest things out there, it's like kind of like, I don't know, it's like developing a game. I recently got into a new survival game with some friends. Oh man, the process of making an account for that game was a nightmare. And I feel like the game itself is fun, but just getting into the game itself was an entire struggle together. I had to spend over an hour just trying to get somebody from support to help me like put it together because they made it a really confusing system. And while I understand your system is not a video game, there could also be some sort of like a entry problems into it. So definitely something you may want to double check just in case, as every RPG system is going to be different, and if it's your own custom one, it might be good to double back around, make sure that character creation, user experience is decent. Yeah, I would say decent, or at least clear to understand. But either way, let's continue. Another potential warning sign I missed was that he really wanted to make a direct copy of a character from a novel or a show he was obsessed with at the time, which isn't unusual, but I thought that guy was going to use the character as inspiration, not a direct printout of that character's personality trait and aspirations, which everyone that I talked to about the character, as there was no way I was going to be able to read a 30-volume series or watch a 12-session anime to get the character, was an excuse to act however he wanted. He struggled to be kind and empathetic. He regularly failed to show courtesy. When I told not to do something, he'd either say he wouldn't do it again, such as invade someone's personal space, or he'd just ignore it. We, my players and I, try to suggest to roleplay his character as being wiser, older, smarter, or just generally more mature. He just never seemed to stick. Well, there's a problem there. If constantly you guys are asking, hey, stop doing the weird bad thing that makes everybody uncomfortable, and they continue doing the weird bad thing that makes them uncomfortable, that might have been a good red flag to basically be like, hey, let's have a sit down, talk about the character, because your character is just not gonna be vibing with the campaign. Just gotta be honest. Sometimes you gotta just let him know, hey, I don't think this character is gonna work. Can we do something about it? Or I guess you would just have to leave. I don't know. Like, if it's good, there's a problem, and it's very apparent that the character is just not gonna work, and the behavior is just not okay, something needs to be done at that point. And need to be a sit down, a talk, conversation, try to figure out a solution forward, you know? When we finally got to the campaign in question, he refused to stick with the group. Honestly, wish I had just let him wander off and get into a fight and kill him. I know that's mean, but I should have made an effort to really nail how dangerous it is to be alone in a PnP RPG, especially on an island that has experienced the equivalent of magical Chernobyl event. Issues that are having out of game should not be solved in game, and to kill off characters just because the player is being insufferable is probably not the way to do it. Like, you could, but then that would just create a whole mess and it would just be you being spiteful. If there's a problem, you need to say, hey bud, character is just not gonna work out. Can we change something about the character? Can you re-roll a new character and just get back to the group? Because your character is kind of impossible, kind of obnoxious, kind of rude, kind of making everybody else feel uncomfortable. Can we probably change that? That, or maybe the player just themselves are just that, and maybe the problem is not the character, it's the player. But either way, don't solve out of game issues in game. Just don't do that. Just put it out of game, get it solved, resolved, so that y'all can continue just playing regularly without having, you know, random events happen for the sake of being spiteful, because it does kind of come off spiteful just if you just want to kill off the character, you know? He actually threatened to quit the campaign, which he'd do several times because we were killing his autonomy, even though we, my players and I, were trying to teach that guy gently that splitting off from your own can be a death sentence if you don't know any better. Every time we try to guide him, to teach him, it just didn't amount to anything. He was also remarkably inconsistent. He'd say how much he'd want to protect and save everyone he ran into one session, and then on the following session, which could be within the same day, be absolutely callous in everyone who wasn't a party member, distrusting everything and everyone. So to get to the essay warning and the aforementioned randomly generated trait, a player rolled a trait they didn't want, especially the PC would have problems being promiscuous, and it was a very high severity. Now I decided to give it to an NPC, the character's twin sister. I did this for a few reasons, but mostly to make the one player more comfortable, and because I thought it would be a fun challenge for portraying a personality type I honestly don't have. Finally, I thought it could be a source for some non-combat related downtime style drama. Is it a good idea to give such a severe promiscuity trait to an NPC of a player character? Or maybe you could just, re-roll the trait. Maybe they have obsession with milk. Obsession with milk. That sounds pretty severe, right? Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, they just, whenever they just wake up in the morning, they get a hankering for milk. They just really want, that vitamin D, non-sexual style, and just want that beautiful. It's gonna sound even more sexual. They want that beautiful white liquid all over their mouth.
I want some beautiful cheese.
Stop. I was okay. You're saying cheese. Okay. I was about to think you were gonna say something else.
What do you think I was gonna say?
Something horrible. I just talked about having white liquid all over your mouth. I thought you were gonna be like, I just want some white liquid all over my mouth.
Nasty mind.
Wait,
cheese, you degenerate.
Milk turns into cheese, so you do want milk all over your mouth.
Stop imaging.
I'm imaging.
You're imaging. Stop imaging Mary with white.
I'll stop.
No, don't stop. Keep going.
Either way, it's absolutely bad when you have a situation where you put in a severe negative trait. It's fine to have a severe negative traits in your game if that's kind of the rule that you want. But maybe you may want to think about, re-rolling it. So it's like addiction to milk or cookies, or maybe they gotta make sure they, I don't know, have everything in 5s or 10s, some sort of OCD obsession, or just anything that doesn't put them into kind of situation that a problem player, like the guy over here, could really abuse. Or maybe in this situation, it might be good to completely omit that negative trait because the problem player is probably going to do some problem player activities and you probably don't want to trust the guy. I mean, honestly, from the reading the story, it sounds like you don't trust the guy and nobody really likes the guy or really likes to interact with the character because they're so inconsistent, wishy-washy, flip-floppy, and it just doesn't seem like you guys are having a blast with it. And I'm a little bit dreading to read this essay part, but guess we'll get to it now. The last point was true. I am thankful that guy decided to express his desires in Discord rather than waiting for a session, as he wanted to take advantage of that NPC because she'd struggle to say no if he pushed himself on her. While I would have skipped over any sex scenes, as that was made clear before the campaign started, it would still have caused a lot of potential fallout, likely leading to him being torn apart by 2 other players, one of whom was said NPC's a very overprotective twin sister, and the other being a short-tempered childhood friend, both of whom would have had every justification to tear him limb from limb if they found out what he did after the fact. Once he was shut down from that potential option, he just moved right on to making an effort at any other female NPC, the crop top who wasn't an obvious enemy, posting gifs, pictures, and even YouTube shorts to the Discord to demonstrate how he would go about interacting with those NPCs. This was framed as being harmless fun, and although nothing posted was explicit, the intention was still very much implied. What kind of things is he sharing? Is he sharing like one of those like YouTube videos of like pickup artists or master pickup artists, like picking up women and stuff, showing like the kind of risk game they have? That's clearly fake because every person they use the risk game on is literally fake paid actor. Like, huh?
Watching them damn hentays again.
Whoa there, Buster. Anyway, I feel like that's kind of a red flag anyway, just in general. This guy's already collected so many red flags, like he could open his own red flag store at this point. I don't know why you still have this guy with you. If he's constantly showing a lot of stuff and a lot of behavior that is a problem player behavior and it's unwelcome at your table, you should probably not have this guy welcome at your table. Simple as that. I don't know why you still have this guy here regardless, especially the fact that he was like, hey DM, I kind of thinking of saying someone's sister, NPC sister, and you're just like, no, you can't, but you can stay in the campaign. Huh? I feel like the collection of red flags is already too much, and like this should have been like some sort of an internal 3-strike system, Strike 1, okay, problem player, we're gonna try to talk to him, figure out what's going on. Strike 2, give him a warning and say, hey, if you continue on, we probably don't want you having a campaign if you continue this behavior. Strike 3, okay, you out here, Buster. We're just not cool with your character. But I feel like you just allowing this guy to collect a mountain of red flags, but like nothing happens to it. I feel like there should be some sort of consequences. The guy is generally unpleasant to be around, right? At least that's what I'm thinking. I feel like there's like at some point you guys gotta team up and just say, listen, dude, this game is probably not for you. We're not really comfortable with that. Maybe try a different game, or I don't know. I feel like you guys give him a lot of leeway. That's just generally what I feel. Maybe I set a bad expectation with taking on that trait and how uncomfortable it would make things at the table. He just never learned to collaborate. When he was introduced to something that he'd have have to learn from, that guy just blew off the new information, moved right along, or he had threatened to quit. Even after booting him for the campaign, the remaining players who agreed to deal with it are still fixing his mistakes. If a player is threatening to quit, let him quit, because it's probably just a problem player removing himself out of the session. Like, if genuinely somebody's threatening to quit, nothing is keeping them there. What's the point of them staying there? Like, you have other players that you enjoy playing with. This new guy, you try to get him to collaborate, to understand, and to vibe with the session, but he's not vibing with anything going on. And if he's threatening to quit, go! Door's right there. Might as well. There's no door over there. There's just actually a bar. The door's actually over there, but it seems more dramatic if I point this way. Because if I point this way, it's like I'm smacking Mary upside the head. I don't want to do that. I'm not abusing her. Guys, I just was shown as example. I didn't actually smack her.
Please don't hurt me.
You're the one who usually hurts me.
Okay.
I have strength of 8. How can I hurt you? How can I hurt you? I have strength of 8.
You think I've got strong? My strength is 10, I think.
Yeah, 10 minus 8. I'm weaker than you.
By just 1. I can't. Do you think I can put?
Ow! I heard. I'm being satyr handled. Anyway, let's continue.
When satyr handled, you got some nice handlebars here, though.
Thanks, you too. As for the inevitable question on why it took so long to eventually boot him, my other players are pretty easygoing people. They have a high tolerance for players with relatively limited experiences with PnP RPGs and seemed okay with his behavior whenever I asked for their thoughts. It was until he kept threatening to quit that they eventually started to express their displeasure with putting up with him. It honestly took him threatening to quit one too many times for me to ultimately give him the boot, and I'm hoping my campaign regains its lost momentum. Lesson to learn from here. Honestly, I feel like the best lesson to learn from here. If a problem player is threatening to quit, you let him quit. Simple as that. Because that's an opportunity for a problem player to remove themselves out of the game and continue on without having the problem player there. If a player wants to engage, right? If they wanted to engage with the world, they're not gonna be there being like, DM, I'm gonna quit. Meh. They're just gonna engage. They're gonna try to ask questions like, oh, what can I do? Can I do this? Can I do that? You know, they're gonna be interested in the game itself. I never had a moment where I'm like, you know, if I'm enjoying the game, I'm like gonna be threatening to quit. Let's say, for example, I'm playing a game and I'm not enjoying it. I'll just quit the game. Simple as that. Whether it be a video game, TTRPG, or whatever. But if somebody is threatening to quit as a way to try to, I guess, control and manipulate their way, or trying to have some sort of a hissy fit outburst, then you let them quit. If they really want to quit that badly, just let them go. It's a problem player remove themselves out of the situation before you need to eventually boot them. They should be able to just let them quit on the first ask. If they say, I'm threatening to quit, go ahead, leave. That's okay. Game is just not for you, and it's fine. Leave. That'll probably surprise them. Be like, oh, wait a minute, my manipulation tactic didn't work. Because threatening to quit is indeed a manipulation tactic. If somebody is threatening to quit, they're trying to hold it over you and lure it over you. But the thing is, you can do is not let them like hold it over you. Just let him quit.
Especially if he's causing trouble throughout the entire time. And now he's like threatening to quit. Like, that's not really a threat, that's like a blessing. Like, okay,
it is a blessing.
Have fun on your
thank
journey.
You. It's like, oh, thank you. I was finding ways of how to get you to leave anyway. Bye-bye. See ya. You know, just simple. It's a blessing in disguise. You just gotta find out that the blessing is actually there, and you should take it. Allow them to quit if you wanted to. And with that, that's gonna be all our stories for today. Thank you so much for watching the video, and hope you enjoyed the stories. And thank you so much, Mary, for being a wonderful guest back to this show, back to hanging out with us. Hopefully we can have Mary show up on more stories and stuff and more videos. And Mary, do you have any final words before we wrap up for the video?
I was let out the basement.
She's now free. As a satyr escaped out in the wilds. Run away while you can. She is dangerous. She will commit crimes.
Only on Sundays.
Only on Sundays. Bye.